Troglodyte warning. What is the real reason that mainstream media is dying today? Well, let's see. From Konstantin Kisin, he's breaking down the real reasons why.
The real reason the mainstream media is dying. Much has been said and written about how this was the podcast election. Undeniably, the long-predicted transition away from TV and newspapers towards podcasts and Substacks has now reached the point of no return. Many argue that this is the result of decay, corruption, and ideological possession of the legacy media. And they're not wrong. It's true that the formerly mainstream media are decaying, corrupt, and have been so dominated by an ideological monoculture that their coverage of the election...
I want to know what he specifically means there. Who is he talking about? What outlets? What specifically is corrupt? Because I'm not saying there's not corruption, there's not lies in mainstream media. There's a reason why it's lost its legitimacy. But what is he really saying here? Like, I need a specific example of the corruption, because it's a vague statement that kind of like, oh, the mainstream media is corrupt. Well, actually, there's some really good journalism. Like, mainstream media is probably more trustworthy than Triggernometry, because there's no oversight here. He's not a journalist. He doesn't have to stick to facts and figures. He can just say what he wants, and people just eat it up. They just assume he's right. So there's more oversight in mainstream media than there is for him. So that's a question I'd ask him. What do you mean specifically?
Destroyed what was left of their credibility. If you think I'm exaggerating, look at this photograph, which has received extensive commentary on social media. 2 weeks ago, the man in the middle claimed that the man on the left organized a Nazi rally in the heart of New York City. Many observed that this reflects the complete dishonesty of the entire Democratic Party machine, which concocted lies about President Trump they themselves did not believe. Again, they're right.
Again, what are these lies? I'd like to be, again, he can't be specific, because if we were to go into the nitty-gritty of the apparent lies about Donald Trump, we'd go, oh yeah, he did do this. He was friends with Epstein. He is a rapist. He is a criminal. So he has to be vague here, because if you were to actually go into the nitty-gritty, you could quickly debunk what he's saying. So he has to be vague.
Right. If the man in the middle really thought that the man on the left was Hitler, what would his behavior in this photograph say about him? But the interest...
That's not a point. Oh, he's the president and he has to hand over power and has to work with the next incoming president. What, he's just not going to have a picture with him? Yeah, I suppose he could decide not to have a picture with him, but what would they say then? Oh, don't... he can't do anything. Like, he's in that position where, oh, he called him Hitler, so therefore he can't do his job. It's kind of absurd.
The interesting point here is not that politicians lie to win elections. At the risk of stating the obvious, it's hardly the Democrats alone who exaggerate and embellish.
Wow, that's a good concession. I agree, Donald Trump does lie a lot.
Politics is the art of convincing the greatest possible number of people that you're on their side, while knowing that you will inevitably have to disappoint a large proportion of them. You can't please all of the people all of the time, but you have to pretend to try. The interesting point instead is what the media did when President Biden lied about the rally in Madison Square Garden, when he called Trump supporters garbage and smeared his opponent. The one thing...
Again, is it a lie? I'd say it's a subjective opinion. The fact that the rhetoric of Donald Trump, very fascistic, about us versus them, anti-immigration, the jokes about Puerto Rico, the fact that his politics is far right, it sets to divide and conquer, and I think that's a fair observation. Is that a lie? No, it's a subjective opinion based on the fact that in Germany in February 1939, Hitler carried out a very similar rally with very similar rhetoric, and I think that's a fair observation.
The thing they did not do is their job. They did not say, how dare the leader of our country compare his political opponent to Adolf Hitler?
Okay, so no freedom of speech? How dare they? Why is he not allowed to do this? If he talks in the same rhetoric, why is this not allowed? How dare they?
How dare he insult the majority of Americans for simply supporting the other party? Or he is lying about his opponent to win.
But Donald Trump insults people on the left constantly and liberals. How dare he do it? How dare he call people stupid, call women pigs? There's a double standard. Again, he would never acknowledge this, that Donald Trump constantly insults people.
Instead, they spread and amplified the lies. But the
Lies. Again, what lies? What lies? You need to evidence the lies here. What lies? It's a subjective opinion based on Trump's rhetoric and the fact that he has. Academics have spoken about this. Does he discount opinions of academics? I'm sure he would.
primary reason the media landscape is changing is actually not cultural, it's economic. Put simply, the technological advances of the last 20 years have rendered the traditional media model obsolete. What does a TV channel or a newspaper do exactly? It buys content produced by individual journalists, anchors, and presenters and packages it together into a newspaper or TV programming. What is a newspaper or a day's worth of TV content? It's an aggregated set of opinions from a range of voices pre-selected for you by an editor. Like a taxi company which hires a large number of different drivers, a newspaper or TV channel hires lots of different contributors and sells their services to its customers. In the pre-social media era, this model made sense for everyone. The consumer had a manageable selection of content curated by a trusted authority. Writers and content creators had access to a large, otherwise unreachable audience, and the publication enjoyed the profits and influence conferred by the sum total of its audience and contributors. All three of these advantages no longer apply. For the consumer, we're living through the era of mass customization. That's why ordering a drink in a coffee shop increasingly feels like attempting to pass a multiple choice exam, where you have to work your way through a growing series of questions regarding size, flavor, milk origin, milk type, milk and water quantity, and so on. Everywhere you go, your exact preferences are being catered to. You no longer hire a taxi. You call an Uber or a Lyft, which offers you not only faster and easier access to transportation, but also more options. You can rent a big car or a small one, pay less to wait more, or pay
Okay, we get it. People have options.
more to wait less. For a little extra, you can access only highly rated drivers, and so on. The point is, we no longer need to put up with something that is only 80% of what we want.
And there's the point, what we want. And that's the right-wing ecosystem in a nutshell. It's not what we need, it's not the facts, it's not the figures, it's not the data, the evidence. People like Konstantin, Kisin, Joe Rogan, Tim Pool are all part of a bought ecosystem of right-wing media. For example, Tim Pool, it was found out he was being given hundreds of thousands of dollars by Russia. Joe Rogan recently talking about Russian talking points in terms of the Ukraine war. I wouldn't be surprised if he's been bought out as well. Well, he obviously has, but if he has by the Russians remains a question. And the right-wing ecosystem of news, it sets to undermine the norms of journalism, fact-checking, ethics. They can just say what they want. And it does, they have undermined the institutions. In many ways, they've undermined themselves. But they don't care about the truth. It's about giving people what they want, the news they want, what they want to hear.
We also no longer have to trust another individual to make decisions for us. We can do it ourselves or let the algorithm do it for us. And it does a far better.
See, that, again, let the algorithm. And we know that right-wing media is dominant on YouTube, social media. It has a monopoly because there's so much funding there from Peter Thiel, Elon Musk, the billionaire class of funding figures like Konstantin Kisin. And obviously he would never admit it, but it would be interesting to see if it does come out in a few years, if he's being funded by Russia. He often talks about Russian talking points. So we'll see about that.
Better job at serving us what we like than another human with their own biases, limitations, and opinions.
What? Again, the algorithm has biases, and often it's to the establishment, the billionaire class that he represents. So the idea that people are given this kind of pure, like, neutral option of like they're just being given options. No, they are being given a very specific narrative.
The machine is like an all-knowing waiter who can predict what you're going to order, how you want it cooked, and whether you're in the mood for conversation. Why would you read a selection of articles curated by someone else when you can curate them yourself? For the writer or
Because people don't really have literacy in the media. They can't analyze what is good information and bad constantly. This is why there's so many fractured communities that believe just crazy stuff, flat earth, anti-vax, QAnon, conspiracy theories, because they don't have this oversight. They don't have to check the facts. Like him, he's part of it, the right-wing ecosystem. You don't have to check the facts. You don't actually have to back up your arguments with evidence. You just have to have feelings.
content creator, the emergence of social media, YouTube and Substack has removed any rationale for selling your ideas to someone other than directly to your readers and viewers. The rapid reduction in the cost of broadcasting equipment has made running a TV channel available to anyone whose mother has a basement and a few $100s, while writing your own newspaper column is now effectively free. However, this is not enough. Just because you can produce your own content does not mean you can reach an audience with it. That is where YouTube and social media come in. There was a time when getting a blog or amateur video production operation to a point where it could be a primary source of income was nearly impossible. Today, the algorithm has every chance of plucking your content out of the pool of human creativity and serving it to exactly the person who's desperate to buy it.
Especially if you're right wing.
In every bar in America and every pub in England, there's a man in a corner who annoys everyone with his inane drivel and fascinating stories that appeal only to himself. I call that man Gary the Wanker. A decade or two ago, Gary would have been nothing but a nuisance to the regulars in his bar. Today, Gary has access to every single other Gary the Wanker in the world. And they to him.
He's definitely talking about himself here.
All Gary needs to do is be one of the top 50 Gary the Wankers in the world, and he will be both famous and well paid for the thing he loves to do most, talking shit while intoxicated. The result is that for the media company,
He's really revealing himself here, isn't he?
Both profits and reach are declining. A TV or newspaper editor is simply unable to provide the customized experience we now expect from everything, while writers and content creators are increasingly free.
I like this euphemism of customized experience. What he means is just like being told what you want to hear about immigrants or trans people or the gays or whatever. It's not like, and this is so dangerous because we literally live in a post-truth, post-fact era where it doesn't matter. Opinions, feelings, it's all about that, baby, not evidence. Because journalism, hardcore, ethical, balls to the wall journalism is what we want, where you know that they're searching for the truth. Journalists don't that they can't exist anymore in this environment where people are just given what they want to hear. It's so fucking dangerous.
Free of the need to operate via legacy media gatekeepers. As technology continues to advance, we will likely end up with a fully algorithmic but customizable informational menu which shows you top content from the various publications you follow and support.
Oh my God. And he's not even criticizing this. This is purely descriptive. He's not analyzing what this means because he is doing this. He is a product of this. So he can't actually go beneath the surface and go, why is this happening? Who does this favor? What's going on? What is the end product? And what can we do about it? Because he literally wins from this. And he's just seen it as a good thing. Like, oh, it's inevitable. The algorithm, capitalism, choice. He has no idea where this could go and how bad it is. But again, he benefits from it. So why would he analyze and criticize it?
A clip from your favorite YouTube channel, Triggernometry of course, an article from a Substacker you read, Konstantin Kisin, and social media posts from accounts you find interesting, all in one place. For better or worse, the future is one where you're going to have everything you want exactly how you want it. And that means a smaller and smaller role for the legacy media. If you enjoy these...
Okay, so what's he actually saying here? Well, not really much. He's just saying this is the future, and it is. It is already. The right-wing ecosystem really has been captured by billionaires. Elon Musk bought Twitter, Joe Rogan, the biggest podcast in America. But we have to just fight against it in the way we can. I mean, we're fighting a big behemoth here of lies, misinformation, and just what people want to hear. He said it out loud. People are given what they want to hear. And that's not how journalism works. People need to know the truth. They need to know the facts, the evidence, and they're not being given it. So comment below, what are your thoughts? And I'll see you in the next video.